When I asked Clark why he was offering his special gifts to be a congressional candidate, he gave me all the right answers you would expect. One, however, stood out in my mind the first time I asked him. He said very simply, "I'm not seeking to serve in Washington because I need to. I don't need to. I am seeking this office because I want to." Here's a man whose deep desire is so authentic, it's the most authentic I've ever seen. And if you look in his eyes, you'll agree with me too. Let me tell you a little bit about Clark's background. Lifelong South Carolinian, Clark and his wife Marcia and their family live in Horry County. A practicing accountant for nearly 30 years, Clark is currently a partner in the firm of Parker Hunter Spivey. Clark is a serious community leader, helping found the Friendship Medical Clinic, which is a charity, if you don't know, that provides free medical care and prescription assistance to underprivileged families. Clark's a 1977 graduate of Coastal Carolina University. Clark was elected to the CCU Board of Trustees for 15 years, serving in numerous capacities, including chairman. Clark has also served as chairman of the Horry County Higher Education Commission and CCU Alumni Association. During Clark's tenure on the board, CCU has become the fastest growing university in the state. A member of the Gideons International, Clark has taken his leadership outside of our boundaries to places like Europe. A past president of the South Carolina Tax Council, Clark is currently state program director for continuing professional education. But folks, that's just his resume. What I know of Clark goes far beyond accomplishments. The Clark Parker that I know is a friend, he's a family man, an honest business shepherd, a trusted counsel, a man who inspires me, a man I admire, a leader, a man who will make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, would you help me welcome your next congressman from Horry County, Clark Parker.
What a great day to be in Myrtle Beach. Amen? Amen. Today's the 16th, Bob. We're still celebrating the 15th. Yes. As I look around this crowd, I see a lot of history. History of those that have been part of my life. From the church I was married in, Tom, he serves, to a friend that I've close counsel for a number of years, to a number of pastors that surround this room that I've spoken in the churches or been involved with the Walk-em-All Baptist Association. Now, you ever try to do a budget for a bunch of Baptists? That was probably the toughest job I ever had. But what I learned with those Baptist ministers and those, it's almost like a little political party. You got some to the far left, some in the middle, and some to the far right. And we were always able to come together to do what was right, despite our differences. And that's what we got to do in America. We've got to come together as a country. I put it very simple, is that we're in a big ditch. If we stay in that ditch together, we're going to drown together because of our differences. I hear so much argument about the Democrats versus Republicans, but it's our own fault to a great extent, the trouble we're in. The Republicans did the first stimulus package. That was mistake number one. The second stimulus package was mistake number two. And this last medical package was mistake number three, because we cannot afford either one, two, or three. Currently a debt over $12 trillion. $12 trillion. If you've got a credit card in your pocket, it's like for the next 5 years, if we're fortunate, our interest rate will be 84% of our federal budget. 84%. The other night, my wife couldn't sleep, and she tried to go print the federal budget off the computer. Now, guess how many pages are there in the federal budget? 3,720 pages in the federal budget. No wonder they can't balance it. They can't even pick it up. I grew up here in Horry County, and I learned the value of hard work. I remember working at age 14, making $5 a day cropping tobacco. And I decided I better go to the beach and find me a real job because I couldn't afford to earn just $5 a day. But the Lord has blessed me so much with the people I've been able to interface with and help me along the way, because none of us is an island. We always have been able to accomplish things because of the bridges of our relationship. And as I look back on former employers I've had an opportunity to work for, one of them sitting up here, Mr. Bill Darby, and one of them is back here in the back. And over those years, those employers have become clients of mine. So I basically build a bridge between those in my past to those in my future. And they are constantly the same, but we're constantly changing. I believe it's time in our country we need to go back to some core principles of individual freedom, liberty, and some limited government. It's got to get smaller because we can't afford what we're doing in Washington. The backbone of our economy exists because of small business exists. The more burden we put on small business, they'll start going away. And that's the reason our unemployment is as high as it is today, because the burden of business has been challenged in so many ways. The worst phone call I have been getting over the last several months, is, Clark, can you tell me what you know about bankruptcy? And when I tell them what the issues are related to bankruptcy, 9 times out of 10 we'll convince them not to go that route. Because what happens in a bankruptcy who gets your building in a bankruptcy? The bank. We've got some bankers here, and they don't want those buildings, right? They don't want to operate those businesses. So we've got to do what we can to help them get out of that ditch that I referred to earlier. As your congressman, I will vote in the following manner. I will never vote to raise your taxes. Amen? I will never vote for a budget that's not balanced. I'll never vote to increase the size of federal government. I will protect our family values. Now listen up, church and pastors. Yesterday, in the newspaper, Day of Prayer ruled unconstitutional. A federal judge in Wisconsin ruled the National Day of Prayer unconstitutional, saying it amounts to a call for religious action. Judge Barbara Grabb in Madison, Wisconsin, said the government can no more enact laws for a day of prayer than it can encourage citizens to fast during Ramadan, attending a synagogue, or practice magic. Congress established the day in 1952, and in 1988 set out the first Thursday in May as a day for presidents to issue proclamations asking for Americans to pray. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, a group of atheists and agnostics, filed a suit in 2008, arguing the day violated the separation of church and state. Grabb said in her ruling it wouldn't bar prayers from prayer days until all appeals are exhausted. So what we need to do, we need to march on that issue. Amen? We do not need to separate church and state. We need to embrace it. Our currency currently says, in God we trust. And I still do. Do you? Last Saturday in Greenville, I went to a church.